Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. I'm locked in.
You got to add that little inflection.
Yeah. You gotta change the presentation. Question, statement.
Now do one like Gus Johnson.
Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers.
It's pretty good.
That's Gus Johnson right there.
Fam,
if I never hear Robert Griffin III ever call another college football game,
McDickums?
Fam,
I was like, bro.
everything from Mick Dickums, like totally objectifying my boy Blake Corum.
Kept
all
calling
fucking
Blake Corum
day.
McDickums. I'm like, bro, stop. Stop.
And then at the end of the game, I don't know if you even watched this long, but then our third string or fourth string, whatever he is on the depth chart, Alex Orji comes in, scores a touchdown, and he's like, "There's an orgy going on in the."
He makes the read, and what do you know, guys? It's an orgy in the end zone.
No, I didn't see that. That's hilarious.
Fam, what is wrong with him? That ass boy walked all the way up the damn stadium steps to get to the press box. Bro, it's got to be an elevator in there.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
It's got to be.
Yep.
You got on a Steve Harvey suit. Why are you sweating like that?
That's a fact. Since we're already on the game, you want to talk about Michigan, Colorado State?
Michigan first. Yeah, man. I was impressed. Definitely impressed with the defense, man. I said it on our predictions. I thought that the defensive line, the front seven, was going to be the most reliable part of this defense, while the secondary was going to be a strength, was going to be our strength. You know, if the defensive line is probably like the shield, the secondary is the sword. And the reason why I say that is because they had 7 sacks, but a lot of them wasn't. Maybe like 3 of those were, oh yeah, guys are just getting off of blocks immediately straight to the quarterback. Maybe like 3 to 4 of them. The rest, coverage sacks. And that's something that you would like to see, knowing that you don't have the first round talent right now on the defensive line. We'll see about Mozzie Smith, because man, that boy looks like a wrecker in the middle. Knowing that you don't coming into the season, you don't have that guy. It's good that the back end is able to assist the front seven, so that we're able to, kind of get to the quarterback a little bit more. Running game looked okay. We had some injuries on the offensive line. I don't know if that'll be a concern going forward. They don't seem to be too concerned, but I think for the amount of guys we had 2 guys out. Carson Barnhart got hurt in the game, and then Ryan Hayes didn't even play. So we had to kick some guys out and bring some young guys in to play. But I think it looked okay. Blake Corum did what he did. Donovan Edwards, they both look good.
Ronnie Bell had a couple of drops.
He had a drop, which was bad, though. It wasn't a good drop. Yeah. I think it was, I guess let's just get into the passing game. So the passing game was out of sync altogether. You had receivers dropping balls. You had guys falling down on routes. Obviously, Cade wasn't the sharpest.
They took out Cade for a drive for JJ.
In the third quarter.
Is that what it was?
Yeah,
okay.
in the third quarter, which Cade got more than enough time to play. He got 3 quarters. And we saw what we needed to see, I think. Like, it just kind of is what it is at this point. We in the season. You started out the game. You got a nice long run before JJ even touched the field. I don't know. Like, at the point that JJ took over in the third quarter, we only had 23 points on the board. We only had 23 on the board. So it's like, it wasn't overly impressive. Yeah, we were able to bully them off the ball and score touchdowns and get field goals, a few defensive touchdowns. It wouldn't even have been 23-0 if not for, the defensive turnovers in the first half. The thing has always been with McNamara is we can win with him. He's a heady enough guy that we can win games with him. But, like, that's not what I want to say about my quarterback. Like, that optimally. Yeah. If you have to, then cool, you get by. But if you don't have to sit up there and say we can win with him instead of, hey, he can win for us. And that's the kind of dynamic that you got with JJ, so that there is slippage in the running game. If the offensive line isn't having the best game, if we have, injuries on the defensive line or the offensive line, then he's able, that escapability is able to assist us in righting the ship. McNamara doesn't have that. And then on top of that, if your precision isn't on point, if your accuracy isn't on point, if you're not sharp out the gate versus Colorado State, like that interception that got overturned, that's going to be a negative in the film room.
Yeah.
Because even though Eric All fell down, you was still 2 yards behind and probably a yard or two high. That's how a slant ended up almost in the corner next to the pylon for an interception. You know, you was off. You were late and you were inaccurate. Even if Eric All was standing 10 feet tall, that ball would have been behind him. Some of the completions that he even made were behind him. 9 of 18 for 136. And I hate to do this because I don't really like when announcers do this. The whole, well, without that 80-yard play, he wouldn't have. That's stupid. That's dumb. Because he did have it, and that's part of his stats. But I'm just talking about the individual throws. That was one of the only decent or above average throws that we saw from McNamara all day. Flip the script. JJ gets in and he's 4 for 4, 30 yards, runs for another 50 in half as many plays. You can't have that. If you're the senior, if you're the guy with all the intangibles, you're the guy who's the leader, the captain, blah, 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 yada, you can't have your backup come in and go 4 for 4 for 30 on a game where you went 50% for less yards than what was expected. Everything else looked good, though, like the secondary, running backs, wide receivers. For the most part, we're going to have to get some of those drops together. Mm-hmm. Secondary looked good. Even that 7 was like that was starter versus freshman. So it was like in garbage time. So I don't even really count the 7, but I think they looked all right. 11 tackles for loss, 7 sacks. You can't really get too much better than that.
From what I saw, and I didn't watch the entire game because you guys kind of took control of it fairly early. Atrocious tackling by Colorado State. Their quarterback was throwing a lot of dangerous passes you guys' way.
I mean, he took a lot of risks. I don't know if Norvell, their coach, came into it like, hey, look, we're not
expected to win this one.
You don't ever tell your team that. But like, I think from a play calling perspective, it was like, let's just call a clean game. Let's call a game that we can get some things on film that are positive and take back. And they did. They did do some things that were positive, offensively and defensively.
Yep.
Let's get some things on film that we can build on, that we can take back and say, look, this is a top 10 team in the country. This is what we're able to do against them. Let's move forward. Let's take that into conference play in the Mountain West.
I can see that. Also, your punter, Brad Robbins, where was he on January 6th?
Fam, leave that man's mustache
Where
alone.
was he on January 6th?
Leave that man alone.
That man looked crazy.
Best punter in the nation.
I don't like it. Take that mustache somewhere. Grow a full beard.
It's not so much MAGA as it is Peaky Blinders. You know what I mean? It's screaming, you're in the wrong ends, bruv.
I want to know where he was January 6th. Just throwing that out there. No, other than that, like I said, I didn't watch the entire game, but I mean, you guys did what you were supposed to do. So
looked okay. We got some things we're going to end up. JJ starts on Saturday, so I expect that to be the end of this QB conversation. Now, if he goes out there and he shits the bed, Harbaugh will happily go back to Cade McNamara. I don't think he has any qualms about it. But this is JJ's opportunity to separate now. It's been, you were behind, now you're even. Cade left the door open, plain and simple. He can complain about it in the press conference all he wants about, it being unusual. Fam, you've known it's going to be like this for 3 weeks. Okay? Like, we're past this unusual. It is what it is. And this is not the first time that a quarterback started one game and then another starter happened the next time. There's nothing unusual about that. The only thing is that he just was very candid about it. Which, if he wasn't candid about it, you guys would be having even more shit. You'd be getting even more questions from reporters. So, come off of that, because you're a captain. And what I don't expect to hear is belly aching if you end up losing the job. Don't turn into goddamn Miles Brennan.
Okay, so that was one of the first games of Saturday, but probably need to go back to one of the first games of the week, which was Penn State Purdue.
Yeah, Penn State should have lost that game.
They
Easily should have lost
definitely
that
should've
game.
that game.
Easily.
I'm upset that they didn't, and I called them losing. Well, I think we both.
We predicted that they would lose. And Jeff Brom, man, listen, I get it. You guys run an air raid offense, spread them out 4 wide, 5 wide. That's just what you do. If you have a lead versus a team that you are physically outmatched by, they have the better athletes. You drain clock. Yes, you have quick strike ability. Yes, you've been, your quarterback's thrown for over 350 yards. I get all of that. Being aggressive is what got you there. Fine. So then now that you're there, secure it. Make sure that they can't come take it back from you on the only decent drive of Clifford's second half. Mm-hmm. Literally, the one decent drive this man had was a 90-yard march with 2 minutes left and a pitch to the freshman running back for a touchdown to seal the win. And it didn't have to be like that. You got the ball twice. You got the ball 2 times with 5 minutes left on the clock, and you ran it 1 time. Mm-hmm. You ran the ball 1 time. Then they ask you about it in the pregame or in the postgame, and you're like, well, at least he stood on it, right? He didn't make no excuses about it. He stood on it, and he said, hey, look, that's how we play. We play on our aggression. We're going to win some, we're going to lose some, but that's how we're going to play. Fine. You're just wrong, though. You're just wrong. Oh, yeah. You were just objectively wrong. I'm glad that you're standing on it, but that is the wrong way to play football.
Literally the perfect example of why you drain clock.
You run the football. And it wasn't even like you got, we've been getting a lot of negative plays. Like, yeah, sure, throughout the game, but you are outmatched in that regard. When it's time to fire off and knock Penn State off the ball, you know that you are outmatched in that regard. So you're going to take some negative plays. That doesn't stop you from doing it when you need the clock to run. Mm-hmm. You handed them the ball twice with 5 minutes on the clock. That is a travesty. Mm-hmm. That is a damn travesty. Fuck the drops. Forget that, because that is not why you lost that game. Mm-hmm. To hell with the drops or the shaky calls. Run the ball, Brom.
Yep.
Run the damn ball. Penn State, on the other hand,
Would you believe that Sean Clifford got co-Big Ten Player of the Week?
Yeah, he played pretty bad. Like through most of that game. There were some good spots in the first half as well, but I thought a lot of that was due to poor tackling on Purdue's part in terms of the big plays. Like it just wasn't. It wasn't, oh man, look at this world beater Sean Clifford, 60-year quarterback. No, it was like he was getting beat up.
Yeah.
He was getting beat up, and the offense was stale for most of the night, and Purdue had it. They had it. Let it slip through their fingers.
For Penn State's DBs to be getting so much praise and then letting Charlie Jones do whatever he wanted is wild to me.
Now, Joey Porter Jr. is a dog. He looks better than he was last year.
No, he is.
He looks better. Everybody else was burnt toast. Mm-hmm. Literally, everybody else is burnt toast.
Agreed.
Joey Porter Jr. is a man. Everybody else, burnt toast. Eli Apple.
Don't do that.
For sure.
Don't do that.
For sure. Like.
But yeah, no, you let Charlie Jones come from Iowa to Purdue and do that to you. Like.
So that is making me turn a fucking eye to Kirk Ferentz in Iowa. Y'all had that man? Mm-hmm. Like, I get it. Y'all have never really had a great guy at quarterback. Going all the way back to, what was that dude's name? He used to wear the black visor, number 5.
Drew Tate.
Drew Tate. There you go. After that, dog, I get it. But if you had a Charlie Jones on your roster, man, just throw him the ball every play.
Yeah.
Every damn play.
Yep.
Because he's nice.
Yeah, the chemistry between Aiden O'Connell and
high school teammates, obviously.
Yeah, no, they looked very much on sync.
Yeah.
Didn't realize it was the battle of the 6-year quarterbacks, so they kept mentioning it during the game. But yeah, no, Aiden O'Connell looked poised.
Looked nice, man. I don't put this game on the players. This one was a coaching gaffe.
Yes.
Definitely a coaching gaffe.
For sure.
Because that game was won, and those kids did enough to win that game. Mm-hmm. And at a certain point, Yeah, we want to be aggressive, but you want to do it in the right way. Call a draw, something. Call a bubble screen, but you 5-step drops on third and short. That doesn't make any sense. That's not aggression. That is just not smart play calling.
Yeah.
It's not.
If I'm a Penn State fan, I'm looking at that game and I'm extremely worried because while Purdue is a good team, you got to see the rest of the Big Ten East, and you didn't really convince me there at all.
Yeah, no, be concerned. Be concerned, boy. Like,
I mean, you got Ohio State,
I think
you got Michigan.
I predicted 8-4. That could easily be a 7-5.
You got to still play Auburn, which probably won't be the worst game for them.
That could definitely be a 7-5.
But, got to play a possibly tough Northwestern who's going to gain confidence.
7-6.
Michigan, Minnesota now looks like it'll be tougher for them.
Minnesota looks good.
Ohio State.
Michigan
State at the end. It's looking real shaky for you guys if your first game against Purdue looks as bad as it did and they should have won that game.
I'll wait to see how they handle a running game from a team that can run the ball.
Fair.
I think they kind of gave up some soft edges close to the end zone, but Purdue didn't run the ball enough for me to actually see whether or not Penn State can meet at the point of attack. Now, they don't look particularly big in the middle at all. They don't look very heavy. They're athletic, but it's light in there. So we'll see. We'll definitely see, but I don't have a whole lot of confidence right now for them or Michigan State.
Speaking of Michigan State, they played Western Michigan and won 35-13.
That was an ugly-ass game. And what was so funny to me is that, well, number one, the score doesn't reflect what actually happened on the field at all whatsoever. It was funny to me because they kept telling the story about Jeff Thorne, the offensive coordinator at Western Michigan. And so they tell the story about Peyton Thorne's mom and how she's like, well, I'm honestly split, my husband and my son, but I'm leaning towards Peyton because he never beats his dad at anything. And so then in the third quarter, Peyton Thorne throws that interception, right? And he's mad as fuck. He's mad as hell. He's cussing, catch the damn ball. You know what I'm saying? Whatever.
Yikes.
He's mad out there on the sidelines, right? And I know his dad is in the press box laughing his ass off. I know he is. He's like, oh, you got to be quicker than that. It would have been chef's kiss if he actually pulled it off. But Western Michigan has they got a true freshman quarterback, and they were only going to hold up on defense for so long. And that's kind of what it was. It just gave too many opportunities for Michigan State to overcome them one, and then extend the lead once they got ahead. And it is what it is. Weaker team. I expect them to look a lot better in MAC play. I don't know if they'll win it, but I do expect them to be one of the teams in the conversation for the MAC. Michigan State, another, much like Penn State, another one of those teams that I am not impressed with. Things that they struggled with last year, it seems to still be a thing that they're going to struggle with this year, and being that of the secondary, offensive line, it still looks like Swiss cheese. If you're giving up sacks to Western Michigan, we going to have a field day, boy.
Yeah.
We gonna dance in your backfield all day long.
Yep.
All day long. And then on the other side, you got a Michigan transfer, a Michigan and I believe Arizona transfer playing in the middle, and Ben Van Sumeren. So good luck with that. Then you got Waterboy in the middle too, which I actually like him. I like Bobby Boucher. I like Halliday. He's a good piece. He looks weird as hell out there playing with nothing but helmet and shoulder pads on.
Yeah.
But they're not very talented on defense. Mm-hmm. And then offensively, they have less playmakers than they had last year. I know, Jalen Berger looked nice going down the sideline there versus Western Michigan, but outside of that run, they didn't really have much of a push.
And that might not happen much in the Big Ten
in conference play. So another one of those teams, just like James Franklin and Penn State, that I'm concerned about. They'll have to make some strides and get better throughout the season, because it ain't look too good in week one, not to me.
Yeah, it's looking like Michigan State and Penn State are going to have to duke it out for number 3 in the Big Ten East. But like I told you before we started recording, it's looking like Ohio State and Michigan, and then a drop off.
Sure.
Unfortunately. Wisconsin beat Illinois State 38-0. Not much of a shocker there. I mean,
None whatsoever. Just a control ass whooping.
Yeah.
Nothing to see here.
For sure.
Braylon Allen breaking out. Graham Mertz made a couple throws, but we'll see what he's really made of in conference play.
Here's a little bit of a shocker. Indiana beat Illinois 23-20. I think we both had Illinois winning.
Yeah, man. So shout out to Coach Allen, man. This team showed some resolve in that game. Mm-hmm. He really did. I didn't think that Indiana could win, but I knew that this was going to be a tough matchup.
Yeah.
Just because their styles are so similar. Mm-hmm. Indiana, man, they have not had a great quarterback in a while. They've had some so-so guys. I think this kid that they got in there now, I can't think of his name.
Connor Bazelak?
Bazelak, that's his name, Bazelak. Maybe, just maybe they have something in him. I think he's a redshirt freshman. So he's been in the program 2 years. Mm-hmm. Maybe they got something with him. They've got to find a way to match that with the running game that they can depend on. Defense looked all right, I guess. It wasn't a very high scoring game, so I don't know what to think of either one of those teams. But I'm proud of Tom Allen, man, because you lose that one. That's because right now Brett Bielema is in that mode with his team right now. He's like, well, damn, we just lost to Indiana.
Yeah,
that's not
tough for them.
1-1 is not where we expect it to be when the season started. So the rest of the Big Ten slate just seems that much bigger.
Yeah.
Now on the flip side with Tom Allen, that's a confidence builder. That pushes them into the next game as opposed to having to get your guys back up to play.
Yeah, I agree. Iowa beat South Dakota State 7-3.
Scored 7 points without scoring a touchdown.
Yep.
Fam?
2 safeties?
That is absolutely putrid. That is disgusting.
Very disgusting.
That is nasty. 7-3 versus South Dakota, or who are they?
South Dakota State.
South Dakota State?
And your offense didn't score a touchdown. That's crazy.
Yeah, they'll never fire Kurt Ferentz because they're Iowa, but he needs to find whoever like the young up and coming assistant is, not necessarily a coordinator, but like skill position, like a wide receivers coach, offensive line coach, quarterbacks coach, something like that, and poach them before they are ever able to get the coordinator job, and modernize. Because you're not going to get a big name offensive coordinator. Kirk Sherrock is not going to Iowa. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Steve Sarkisian, when he was still an offensive coordinator, was never going to Iowa.
Yeah. He needs like a heart line.
Fine. For Sharon
not
Moore.
Bragging, but like that's what you're
yeah, that's what I'm saying. You need a position coach that shows an acumen for not just his position, but offense. Now, that's hard to identify without, talking to guys within the... But he needs to do the work, because this 1980s style offensive football bullshit is not... They worse than us. When a Michigan fan is telling you that your offense is antiquated, there's something wrong. Yeah. There's something wrong. Like that's not a way to do it. I don't think that's the way he wants to do it. He'll take a win any way he can get it, but I don't think he prefers winning 7-3 over South Dakota State.
And then your receiver going to Purdue
and having 150 yards,
adding insult to injury.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. No, it's
very
tough,
very pedestrian. But on the other side, defense looked great.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jack Campbell.
Yeah. And you got the dub. So
yeah,
I guess you can at least put a positive spin on it. Nebraska beat North Dakota 38-17. So they finally got a win.
Yeah, and it wasn't pretty either, but we'll see in October, Scott Frost. We'll see if he's still got a job when that buyout comes way down.
I doubt that, but we'll see.
We'll see, yeah.
Rutgers barely edged out Boston College 22-21.
But they got the dub, though,
yes.
And they were a dog in that game. So similarly to what we were talking about with Coach Tom Allen, Greg Schiano finding a way to win a tough game that if you lose, the outlook of your season looks mighty different.
Ooh, boy.
Looks mighty different. So shout out to him stealing that win, man, because honestly, Boston College kind of looked like the better team.
Yeah.
So, shout out to him.
Yeah, no, for sure. Minnesota beat New Mexico State 38-0. Minnesota rushed for like almost 300 yards.
Shout out to Mo Ibrahim coming back. Both of their running backs this year were injured last year. So I actually seen the post game interview with Mo, and he was just talking about coming back. Got a little emotional, man. It was good to see him back, man. That was just such a untimely injury
For sure. Beginning of the season.
Yep.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yep. So good to see him back in form. Tanner Morgan doing his thing with Kirk Shiraka. They're I don't know, they look pretty good. We'll see how
when you have a Mo Ibrahim running like that, it's going to open things up for Tanner Morgan. It's going to make their offense that much more dangerous.
Absolutely.
And so Minnesota might be a team that we have to look.
I didn't even realize that Chris Ottman-Bell was still there. Like, fam, why are you not in the league yet? Why are you still here?
Yeah.
Go away.
Maryland beat Buffalo 31-10.
Well, it is Buffalo, but the defense looked a little better.
Yeah.
I will say that. Defense looked a little better. We'll see what that amounts to in week 4, when Michigan comes, or when they come to the big house. I don't expect too much different. I expect maybe Scott Frost and Mike Locksley to be in the same line this offseason. So? But if he's not, if Locksley is actually going to keep his job, then that defense is going to have to make some strides versus some teams that are much better than Buffalo. So good start, and we'll see him down the season. Tunga Vailoa, Big Ten Player of the Year candidate, dark horse Heisman candidate, started his campaign.
Yeah, 290 yards, no touchdowns, and a pick.
So
a little tough, but
we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how that shakes out. They obviously didn't need him to go Aaron Rodgers to win the game against Buffalo, but kind of like what we were talking about with Cade, not the cleanest game. The difference is there's no J.J. McCarthy playing behind Talia.
Yeah.
Yep,
agreed. All right, looks like we are on to Ohio State, Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously going into this game, the defense was the big question, and I think that they did a decent job of proving that they have improved. Mike Hall, hell of a game. Hell of a game. Showed that the defensive line is going to be something to take a look at with guys making huge plays, disrupting the backfield for Notre Dame, giving that freshman quarterback a hell of a time. They looked really good. Now, one part that didn't look so great was Denzel Burke. He kind of wasn't looking so great out there. But
Apple Jr.
Stop it. But you know what? I'm not going to hold it to him. I think he will go on to do better in later games. He didn't look that great this game. CJ Stroud had a decent game, but for him, it didn't matter as much because the running game came to play finally when they decided to actually call some running plays towards the end of the game. Obviously, Travion Henderson, I think he had almost 100 yards, but Mayan Williams came to show improve. And I was trying to tell you last year that Mayan Williams is a dog. He kind of showed improved that a little bit, especially in the fourth quarter in this game. He was out there breaking tackles like crazy. Yeah, man, all around, I think it was a solid game for us. I did think that we were going to probably win 31-10 as opposed to 21-10. But we didn't have our star wide receiver JSN for most of the game. He might be out for the next game as well. So a little bit of offensive firepower lost, but yet and still the same. We got the dub, and we got it in a fairly convincing fashion, I would think.
All right, so a couple things that this game confirmed for me that I thought were going to be a thing, but I waited at least until to see him get on the field to make a declaration about it. I don't think the passing offense is as explosive as it was last year, which is not a hot take because while, yes, everybody's been leaning on Ohio State, predicting them to be the best offense in the country and what have you, and I mean, there's obviously firepower there. Mm-hmm. The question is depth. See, last year you guys had 3 NFL wide receivers, and then everybody who's starting now, Fleming, Egbuka, and Harrison, were all behind those guys, right? There was depth there.
Yeah.
Now this year, we got Jackson Smith and Jigba goes down for 2 quarters, and we got 7 points in the middle of the third quarter.
Sure.
So Yeah, they got a lot of yardage in between the 20s. I wouldn't say the offense was overly effective though, and that was probably the difference in between that 31-10 score that you were looking for and 21-10.
I would say that the biggest thing that I was looking for, like I told you before, is more running, because at the time, I think especially at the half, Travion Henderson was averaging like 7 or 8 yards a carry. And so had they kind of ran the ball a little bit more, it would have probably opened things up for some of those pass plays to obviously make
that's a function of your coach, man. He doesn't like, but I'll give credit where credit was due in the fourth quarter. But see, here's the thing. With what I'm saying about the passing offense in general, given the fact that they completely reverted to the run in the fourth, was that the game plan? Is that what he wanted to do, or is that what he was forced to do because they weren't scoring?
I think probably forced to do.
So,
but at the same time, we did get some.
No, you got it though. You got the yardage, right? Obviously, I don't think very highly of Notre Dame's defense. I think they got some studs on there, and Marcus Freeman. Okay, tell me why you spent an entire game, like literally 99% of the game, with two safeties over the top the entire game, keeping Ohio State from trying to run nines all the way down the field.
Yeah.
But then in the fourth quarter, for a deciding score, you decide to send two safeties on a blitz, a double safety blitz. Fam, what the hell? By the time that C.J. Stroud finished his drop, the safeties were just now hitting the offensive line, and neither one of them broke through. It was like the easiest pitch and catch you could have given him at that moment, and you hadn't done that the entire game.
Yeah,
I don't get that from him. And then also, I didn't like the offensive play calling in the second half for him. You survived on a balanced call sheet in the first half: run, pass, run, RPO, John Mayer, mixing and matching. Third quarter, it was nothing but shots. Take shots. It's like he got in a basketball game with his big brother and got ahead and got excited, start shooting threes like Curry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Fam,
I can see that.
Why? Why abandon what you were doing in the first half, especially with a young quarterback? You had him ultra comfortable in the first half. Second half, you got him taking 5 and 7 yard drops, and they're pinning their ears back trying to come get him. Like, it's not. You don't have the guy for that right now. You got a freshman making his first start. Or not a freshman, but a guy making his first start, because I think he was there last year behind Cone.
Yeah. Can you not chalk that up to first-year coach mistakes?
Sure, but he was calling such a good game up until that point. And I don't understand.
Adjustments at the half, though.
Yeah, now that is what I would say. That's something you got to point back to Tommy Rees, because when Ohio State got up, when they got up and start playing bump and run on the outside, there was no adjustment. Let's keep taking deep drops. Like, there was no draw game, there was no screen game. You did nothing to push the guys off of the line of scrimmage. Yeah. You didn't stick to the run either. So it was just kind of like, I think in the first half they were doing great on the ground.
Yeah.
And that was another question that I needed answered, is whether or not the second level of your defense is going to be the playmakers that the defensive line is supposed to make them be.
To answer your question about the depth, I do see that it may have been an issue a little bit.
Where the hell was Julian Fleming? Where was he at? Did he even play?
He's injured as well.
Oh, he was out. Okay, yeah, I was about to say, I didn't hear his name called at all.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I do see that somewhat being an issue, at least as of right now. But the good thing is that guys like Xavier Johnson and Egbuka get a little bit of confidence, especially since the next couple of games are going to be fairly easy. And then we should probably see JSN back, and I think it'll kind of work itself out. So I'm not too afraid of that. And then Jim Knowles, I'm a little bit of a believer. I think the defense came and did their job. I'm going to reserve judgment of playing against a first year starter. And then even at that, it wasn't like the entire game was dominant. Not to say that it has to be. I'm saying there were things to fix. There are strides to be. For sure. There are strides to be made. So I'm not going to anoint them just yet. But not major things that they have to correct.
It's not as bad as it was last year. Yeah. No, they're not constantly out of position. They're not. missing tackles. Now, is the secondary still a soft spot? I think so. I think so. Can you still scheme an offense that uses that aggression with that which they play with against them? Sure. We'll see how that ends up playing out when we get to conference play. But as of right now, it's TBD in my opinion.
For sure. Did you want to say anything about Georgia's trouncing of Oregon or LSU losing to FSU?
I thought that Georgia. So first of all, their offense looks better. Number one, Stetson Bennett out there looking like not Alex Smith. What was the guy who replaced Joe Montana at the 49ers? Steve Young. Looking like a young Steve Young out there. Georgia just ran all over Oregon, and you kind of predicted that by seeing that Bo Nix was the starting quarterback there.
Yeah.
Never really had great track record on the road in general, let alone a neutral site game for Georgia in the Georgia Dome. I wasn't really too surprised by that. Dan Lanning being a defensive guy. Now, I was a little surprised that he allowed 49 to them because, every day for the last 2-3 years you were seeing that offense. And he got some guys over there too. Flo, Noah Sewell, they got some guys over there. It just didn't work out.
Yeah.
LSU and Florida State. Karma. I don't think LSU should have had a chance to even run that last play that they scored on. So, kind of makes sense that they got the kick blocked. Football gods looked upon them.
Yeah. Pac-12 has Oregon and Utah losing. I think USC won.
Utah was a bit of a surprise. I think they lost a tough game, though. I think they'll be fine. Oregon, hey, for all you recruits trying to go to Oregon for them uniforms, I hope they feel better when you catch a loss, because I don't. Until they get an offense established with a guy they can grow with, I don't see them doing much. Bo Nix is not. He wasn't the guy in Auburn, or he was the guy, but there really wasn't much success around him in Auburn, so. If he's the guy for this season in Oregon, then we'll just call this a building year.
For sure.
I thought that they were a little bit overrated to start the season as it was. So.
And finally, to end our college football discussion, it has been announced that in 2026 we will see the college football playoff expand from 4 teams to 12 teams. Any thoughts on that? I
am glad that we can say we made it when it was 4. Now we just got to win it when it was 4, and we'll be forever cement ourselves. You know what I mean? But I do I like it. I thought it would be 8 instead of 12. Mm-hmm. But 12 makes it so that we probably don't have to talk about another playoff expansion for 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
12 is more than enough teams.
Agreed.
You have split evenly between Power 5 automatic bids and at-large bids. I know Notre Dame's happy about that because they don't have to join a conference now. They can pretty much guarantee themselves, as long as they go at least 11-1, they can pretty much guarantee themselves a spot in the playoff every year, which is a that's disgusting to me.
Very disgusting.
One of the reasons why I probably would have kept it at 8 to keep teams like Notre Dame from doing that shit. But if they want to be left out of the conferences permanently and forever be independent, let them. I mean, they're not making as much money than the teams in the Big Ten or SEC will probably get a major deal, a re-up from ESPN pretty soon. ACC, I don't know, but we'll see.
I'm wondering if they still try to give conference champions some sort of incentive.
Well, the at-large bids will get the lower seeds, and maybe that'll incentivize them, but probably not.
You don't think there'd be a way to provide? Well, because there would only be maybe 4 teams that would be able to get a bye.
Yes, the top 4 teams get a bye. So that alone is probably going to be Power 5 conference champions. It'll be 4 Power 5 conference champions, and then the last one, probably the ACC, will have to play in the first round.
Or the Pac-12. Or the Big 12 once Texas and Oklahoma leaves.
You're right, actually. Yeah. USC and UCLA are coming to the Big Ten. Mm-hmm. So that conference is shit.
One of them conferences is going to get left out, and what does that conference?
Well, they
say
can get
about?
they can get one of the 6 at large. So there's 6 conference champions.
Yeah.
That'll probably get the. Well, no. There's 6 spots for Power 5 teams, so it's not going to be all conference champions.
Right.
It'll be 5 conference champion and probably the 1 non-conference championship that's like 11-1 or something like that.
Yeah. A Michigan, if you will.
Stop it.
So if you give a bye week to the 4 top teams, how would that last 5th team not feel somewhat slighted?
It will be 5th and 6th. There's 6 Power 5 slots and 6 at large, but 5 and 6 would probably have to play in the first round.
Right. So if I were,
because you were probably the not if those 2 slots end up being the ACC and the Big 12, what room do you think you have to complain? Your conference doesn't have the higher rated teams. As it is, you're lucky to have an automatic bid for winning your conference. If you're the Pac-12 after USC and UCLA leave, and you still have an automatic bid to get to the playoff in the top 6 seeds, what are you complaining about?
So basically, it'll be the top 6 seeds. Top 4 will get
buys.
Everybody
else plays.
It's devoid of whatever conference they play for. It's just whoever's the top, and those will probably be conference champions.
Most likely.
Okay.
Most likely.
So we're not specifically saying conference champions.
Could I see an 11-1 Ohio State getting in over a Pac-12 champ, or at least getting a higher seed? Probably, and I mean we'll debate about that when it happens, but I mean that's certainly plausible.
So we're not going to say conference champions specifically.
Nope. It's okay. Automatic bids from conferences or automatic bids from Power 5 is the top 6, and then the rest are at large, so it can be anybody.
Got you. Okay.
Which, you know what I immediately thought about? You could fuck around and see Jackson State in a college football playoff. You can see FAMU. You can see Grambling. You can see North Carolina A&T in a national championship game.
I don't see why not.
That's hard.
That would be
that's hard.
I would watch that game.
That's
boost.
deep.
So
that is fucking
I'd be
deep.
here for it.
Deion Sanders and Travis Hunter rolling into the college football playoff. They gonna get him one.
And his son, did you see his son?
Yeah, get him one. And yeah.
Quarterback.
Yep.
Sheesh.
Shamor Sanders.
Shadjor.
Something like that.
Yeah. But yeah, no, he looked good. But any other thoughts on week 1 college football?
Good week of football, man. I'm glad football is back. Same. Definitely glad football is back.
Same.
Let us know what you thought of week 1. Tell us how your team did. What did you think about Ohio State, Michigan, any other Big Ten teams? Give us your thoughts. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Come back next week for a week 2 review.
And make sure you check out our playlist full of college football takes from the offseason as well as week 0. And then make sure you subscribe because we will be talking about college football all season.